Much love, many blessings. Your boy Lotus. Okay. Moving on to Capricorn. Capricorn is always very exciting for me to talk about. It could be a personal bias. I don't know. Fuck it. Don't matter. But I enjoy talking about Capricorn. When we get to Capricorn, the placements are always so active and lively. It could be that cardinal nature. It could be the fact that I have Capricorn in my Venus. So there could be that harmony and that aesthetic there, or appreciation for that aspect. But what I will say, there's always been some very pivotal shifts, milestones, or just ascensions that happen when there are placements in Capricorn. Like when we had that Capricorn effect, like in 2020, and there was a lot of manifesting and inner work that was transpiring within the collective. Capricorn is always very interesting because it creates that shift. It's that devil energy, and kind of taking out the not necessarily the morality, because sometimes that sounds like a bad thing, like when we take out the morality, but it's taking out the morality guidelines that we hold ourselves to, and just looking at the energy objectively for what it is. So that's what we get when we get the devil. So sometimes when we look at Capricorns, or we come across a Capricorn energetically, we might be looking at them with distrust, or just wondering, are we going to get the best deal or the best side from them? It's like, what else are you holding back? Why does it feel like you might do something else with this energy? And that's because they see the potential in things. So there's a potential going on during this time, and we get that no less with this Leo season. There's a lot kicking off for you, Capricorn. You had to make a lot of, I want to say that you're really excited for what's finally come to you. There was, in a sense, and a culmination of energy that built up from the Cancer season, a lot of emotional energy, and Cancer tends to be kind of a rival energy for you, because you don't like to hold back. When you're faced with resistance, you tend to kind of butt in or do something about the situation instead of being recluse. So that kind of clashes against your ability to want to give and not hold on. Cancer kind of holds and keeps things, all their possessions, to them. You're kind of like, well, let's do something with this energy. So you're ready to do something now, and Leo is definitely amplifying it and pushing those areas where that cardinal energy wants to say yes and do and make the best use of the energy during this time. So I definitely want to just kind of get right into it, because a lot of the astrological placements, like especially thinking on like this placement in recent shifts and placements in Taurus, like with Taurus Mars, Taurus Uranus, Taurus North Node, really want to ask yourself, like, since we're touching on that devil energy, and since we're taking out the standard for, okay, is this binary correct, or polarity correct, or not correct, or negative or positive, then it's just, is this conducive to the situation? So fuck it, is this conducive? Is what's going on conducive to the situation? So you're doing a self-check, especially that Jupiter Aries retrograde. There's a looking at self and coming back to, are the things that I'm doing now conducive to self? So touching on that Taurus placement, like I was saying, it's like, like I made a post recently and just talking like, okay, watch your travels, watch your movements, because when we're dealing with North Node, like we're dealing with those lessons that we're experiencing in these spaces. So it's like, okay, Taurus dealing with finances, Mars dealing with finances, I'm dealing with saving. Am I saving up my energy the correct way? Am I creating the correct value for the energy? Is my energy going towards the correct things? And it's like, if we're clashing, if you're clashing with what you're moving your energy into and what you're creating the momentum for, then you're going to run into fines. You know, you might be coming up on that scam, or you might be coming up on that fast money, but you'll notice it like, okay, I just got this 10, this 15K, but it's like, why am I getting stopped by the police? Why am I running into unnecessary injuries and breakdowns and things I have to fix? It's like the energy has to be paid due. So these things are going to be indicators like, okay, you need to hold up. And it's like, if you're not taking the discipline to hold up, then that means that the universe has to put things in place to slow you down, to not misuse the energy, because of one of the other big things that's going on. And it's very interesting that I'm talking about the Taurus conjunction now. I feel like it impacts you. It impacts the collective in a huge way, but for you, because of how you're utilizing the energy, Capricorn, it's very important that you don't get stopped, because Taurus and Uranus has a lot to do with the longevity. It's like, okay, once this is this way, it's going to be this way for a long time to come. So you don't want to be cementing lessons like North Node Taurus lessons for things that you need to be breaking the habit for, and then having to deal with a trial or a lesson or something that you could have just had in place the correct way, and having to deal with that for a very long time to come. There's a huge opportunity for you to actually be seeding the financial and the energetic accumulation of the energy that you want to have operating within your space, and for your lifestyle to actually operate that lifestyle that you really want to be tuning in and taking that pause to make sure you're not actually just going along like a wild path or a wild route just because it's exhilarating during this time when you may be going through a period where things may feel a little boring to you. They may feel like you want more going on during this time. Don't jump on the crazy path just because it's stimulating, just because there's some energy to gain from it. That is one of the worst things you can do, is feeding your vices and addictions during this time. So take that pause, allow yourself to see what is going on with the energy that you have available to you, so that you're not just making use of it just because it's just because it's available. Gotta listen to the sirens and the alerts. Are you making use of the energy just because it's available, or are you actually saving it up and actually putting it into a better investment for yourself? Sound, what's the vibration that's operating from you during this time? This is also, when we see sound and vibration, this is about attuning to your rhythm. There's a rhythm in silence as well as a rhythm with movement. But are you listening to the rhythm of silence? Are you listening? Are you taking that pause? Have you actually cut off all the technology in your space and heard that silence, the sound of silence? If you haven't heard that in a while, ask yourself how many distractions are giving off residual feedback, residual noise, residual vibrations. Is there too much white noise? Is there too much distortion noise that is feedback in your space? It's time to get away from some of the technology, not for like an isolated, like gotta kumbaya, go off into the cabin in woods, but just like taking like 5-10 minutes. Like, have you taken that pause and been like, whoa, what's on in my space? Why can I not hear myself think? Why can I not hear my own vibration? When you trip, when you stumble, when you skip the beat, it's because you're not moving to your own rhythm. You're trying to maintain a rhythm that is different from your own. But that's because you're also operating from a projection. You shouldn't be operating from a projection during this time. It may mean that you're seeing everybody else heated up during this time, and you're feeling like, well, my experience should be like this, and there's a comparative narrative going on. So the throat chakra, this blue, is a little active, so you may be doing some over and analyzing, and instead of pausing and listening to the silence, you're trying to vibrate and actually match something that is not. Can't make this shit up. Clear the clutter, frog spirit. So moving too fast, hopping on to other things. You got to clear out your space. You may have a bunch of piles of clothes, but it's a clean mess. It's kind of like, it's not nasty. It's not like nasty food or anything. It's kind of like the clutter you see on The Sims. Like, it's like the clean clutter. Like, you need to clean that shit up because the feng shui is off, and you can't really move the way you want to move. And when you try to take those steps, you don't have enough creative clarity to actually create the symphony that you want to make. All the tools are there to have the comforts, but that true clarity is not coming to life because there's too many distractions and clutter. Are you listening to other people or trying to match the audience? Are you creating the content for you, or are you trying to match an audience? Are you actually doing it for yourself? Have you taken that pause and actually seeing like, okay, what's that sound? What's that silence? And what am I feeling now that I'm operating within this silence? For you, Capricorn, once you actually get to that point of that divine silence, that's the point where Spirit is actually asking you to make the music that you want to create within your space. But that silence won't be attained or reached until you clear out the clutter. Have you cleared out the clutter within your apartment, your home, within your workspace, within your mind? What are you doing during this time? What is operating within your space? What needs to be cleared out? What is distracting you? What doesn't match the abundance of what you have the most of? Because clutter is anything that is out of place with what you have an abundance of. Some of y'all have too much clutter of a lack of cleanliness. So it's like when you actually have something enter your space that is divine or clean, you're like, whoa, what is this? It's some of you that when you take water, you drink water for the first time, you're so used to drinking pop, and all this bullshit and all this syrupy drink. And when you drink water, you get sick on the stomach. And you're like, whoa, I don't like that shit. I don't like that water. You don't like the movement. You don't like the flush that's taking place. So you actually have more of the toxins in your body than actual good shit. So when you put in the fucking clean shit, when you put in something pure, it feels like clutter. It's time to actually do an assessment and actually see what clutter actually needs to be removed from your space. What's actually operating right? Is everything aligned? Are you able to make the music? I want you to be able to make sweet music. I want you to be able to actually declutter your mind, declutter your auric field, to actually be able to fully enjoy the Leo season sun that's shining during this time. There's so much operating and that's transpiring during your, I want to say it's not necessarily an ascension that's taking place, but you finally figured out what it is that you want to do. And it's really pivotal for you to clear the space even more, so that you can have this open canvas, I want to say,